guys ever notice that a lot of times people go out to do something and they'll fail and they'll just quit, or maybe they'll fail twice and they'll quit? I noticed recently, the Lord kind of brought this to my attention, how many times I fail when I try to play something on guitar. It's like the moment I pick up a guitar to try to learn something new, it's guaranteed I'm going to fail, and I'm going to fail a lot. But every now and then I get a little bit of a breakthrough and I learn that section, and then I can build on that to the next part and the next. And maybe I play it 100 times before I ever get to where I really know all the notes. I'm still not playing it perfect, but I'm getting there, you know? And the Lord's kind of encouraging me with that knowledge, that revelation. He's saying, this is how it is. This is how I want you to expect it to be. Don't just go out there, have a struggle, and give up. This is not what God's calling you to do. He called you to do it, believe Him, and walk forward in it, knowing that He will bring it to completion. He will perfect that thing that pertains to you. So this past week, you guys know, I went with my wife and my son. We went to South Carolina to see my daughter graduate the Army's basic training. And they had family day the first day, and they had all the soldiers out hidden in the woods. And then they had some smoke and the soldier song playing, and the soldiers came out through the smoke. Very emotional, very cool. And so we saw them all line up. We got to go out and spend time with our daughter, who we haven't seen in quite a while. And then the next day they had the actual graduation, and we got to see that as well. And that was awesome as well. And so we have lots of photos, and I'm hoping that I'm sharing those with you as I'm telling the story. But after that, and it was either the night of her graduation or the day after, I can't recall. In one of those, I had this dream, and the Lord wants me to share that dream with you now. And it has two parts, and so I want to share them both with you, and then I'll tell you what I understand about each part as we go through it. So I don't remember which part came first, so I'm just going to give it to you how I give it to you, and then we'll break it down. In this one part in this dream, I am in my apartment complex, only it's not exactly my apartment complex. You know how dreams are. And I'm aware that my neighbor has been arrested for doing something wrong. I don't know what that neighbor had done, I don't remember which law he had broken, but he was arrested and taken away because of that. And I was going to go beyond his place to another neighbor's house and talk to her about something. I can't remember if it was about the neighbor being arrested or what. And there might have been another person there with them as well. But before I got there, I was aware that this was a female, and I was going to her house. And so I needed to be very cautious and very careful not to do anything foolish, you know what I'm saying? So I went to this person's house, we spoke, I stood in the doorway, we spoke, and maybe the stoop, I don't know, or in the hole when you first enter, I don't know. And then some words were exchanged. I don't know what those words were, I can't recall. And that was the end of the part of the dream, that part. Now, what I understand about this in this dream, this is not a warning that my neighbor's doing something wrong, he's going to be arrested and kind of thing. This dream, in that section, the Lord is showing what happens when you sin. When you walk contrary to the Word of God, to the law, you will be captured and taken away. So what follows will not pertain to that individual who was taken away. That person was captured. They're not going to receive. The devil comes seeking whom he may devour. He tempts people, trying to find out who he can get. And if they take the bait, he can get them. But if they are careful, if they're circumspect, if they're minding their P's and Q's and careful not to fall into sin, they're okay. So that's what that part of the dream was telling you, is to mind how you walk, because you want to be able to access the promise that's on the other side of this. So this is the second part of the dream. In the second part of the dream, I see myself, and I am walking on this land that is my area that I live in, but it's not quite exactly the way it is. So you know how dreams are. So anyway, I'm walking on this land, and I'm aware that this land is bad land. It's very unproductive land. It's the only way to describe it. And I know that everybody knows this about this land, and I know that everybody who lives in this area has been praying for a very long time to see a change take place, to see a change happen. And I don't know what that change was exactly, whether they wanted to be moved to another place or whatever it was, but they had all been praying to God for a long time for change. And there was no evidence in the atmosphere of God moving on their behalf. There was zero evidence. And as I was walking, this thought struck me. I just had this idea. Maybe the problem is they're praying for the wrong thing. They should, instead of being asked to be moved to a better land, they should instead ask God to cause it to rain and change the bad land into good land. And that's not an example, that's the actual idea that came to me in this dream. And as I was thinking this, I realized, well, God gave me this idea for a reason. Perhaps He wants me to pray that it would begin to rain. And because there was no evidence of God moving whatsoever, I knew that I needed to ask God and set a fleece, in a sense. So I asked Him, God, cause it to rain on this land and change this land. And when I see the rain, I will know that you are answering my prayer, and this is what you want me to pray for. And at the end of my prayer, I entered my apartment. So I closed the door. I opened the door, walked in, closed the door. That was the end of my dream. I walked through my house to the back of my house, the back door. And in the dream, the back door wasn't like it is in real life. It was all a glass door. And I looked through the glass door and I saw snow starting to fall. And I knew the Lord was answering my prayer. And in that moment, I could perceive God, unlike previous, when you're walking and you've seen no change and you've been praying for things and nothing's happening. But when you align your words, you align your prayer with God's heart, what He wants you to pray for, and you speak it in faith, and then He performs it, you perceive Him. So that's what the Lord was saying. This is what's coming. This is what's going to happen. He's going to give ideas to you and me. Whatsoever God has to me, He does to the church. He's going to speak things to you that He wants you to then pray for. Don't just run off praying for whatever you want. Seek God and pray what He wants. It'll change everything. Remember, this is very much like Moses and the bitter water. And he sought the Lord. He cried out to Him in prayer, and the Lord showed him a stick, which he took the stick, he threw it in the bitter water, and it was turned sweet. If this word has been encouraging to you, if this ministry has been encouraging to you, please go to the website at christianprophetic.com. Give however you prefer to do so, and allow us to continue this ministry moving forward. Thank you.